9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, the doorbell chimed unexpectedly. I hadn't anticipated any visitors since Jessica had texted an hour prior about being delayed at work for the third time that week. I stopped trusting her excuse around 2 months ago, coinciding with my hiring of a private detective. Upon opening the door, a stranger was on my porch. He appeared to be in his mid-30s, well-built, sporting an expensive leather jacket and designer jeans, exuding a self-assured demeanor that suggested he considered any room he entered as already belonging to him. The scent of his cologne reached me before his greeting did. He casually greeted me with, "Jessica home?" As if we were neighbors, unaware of the fact he had been sharing hotel rooms with my wife. I recognized him immediately. My detective had carried out his duties diligently, capturing images outside cafes, grainy photographs in parking garages, shots that showed his hand possessively on her back as they entered various restaurants throughout the city. He was none other than Marcus, a regional sales manager, frequently illuminating her phone screen at 2 a.m. while I feigned sleep beside her. Studying him casually, I leaned against the doorway. "You are Marcus," I stated, prompting a fleeting change in his expression. "Yes, do I recognize you? I am her husband," he replied. A moment of silence ensued before me. Rather than slamming the door or launching an attack, I stepped aside, inviting him in with a level tone. "We need to talk," I suggested. His demeanor shifted from smugness to confusion. He seemed poised for anger, perhaps shouting, perhaps violence. Instead, a hint of arrogance spurred him forward. He crossed the threshold. The door closed behind him, and I gestured towards the living room. "Take a seat," I directed. He settled awkwardly on the couch's edge, his gaze straying to the wedding photos adorning the mantel, 7 years of memories captured in polished wood frames. Sitting opposite him, I folded my hands and held his gaze. I inquired softly, "How long has it been?" He swallowed. "I am unsure of what you are referring to." "Around 4 months," he answered hesitantly. I interjected delicately, "It started at the Phoenix Sales Conference. In the hotel bar, too much alcohol, regrettable choices." The color drained from his face. I persisted, maintaining composure in my speech. Later, it was client dinners extending past midnight. Strategy sessions on Saturdays, a non-existent weekend training seminar. I took a moment. "It wasn't a seminar, it was a gift. 814 downtown, paid for with your card." He jumped up abruptly. "I don't need to stay here and listen, Marcus." I didn't shout or threaten, but my tone stopped him. Gradually, he returned to the couch. The self-assurance he'd brought with him was dissipating. For the first time since he stepped on my porch, he recognized that he hadn't walked into a confrontation. Instead, he had entered a discussion he wasn't ready for. His confidence began to crumble in front of me. "Let me clarify something for you," I said softly, "and I need you to truly understand." He remained silent. "You came to my door tonight expecting what? To persuade her to depart, to assert dominance. Perhaps engage in a theatrical confrontation and power struggle." His silence spoke volumes. I retrieved a thick manila envelope from beside my chair, which had been gathering dust on my desk for 2 weeks. This moment was its destination. I set it on the coffee table between us. "Open it," he was instructed. He hesitated before cautiously peering at its contents. There were official divorce documents already filed and stamped, with Jessica's name prominently displayed. Beneath that were printed emails, text transcripts, hotel bills, photographs, a timeline, evidence, all detailing our past. As he flipped through the pages, his complexion paled, replaced by shock. His fingers quivered. "This is your copy," I stated matter-of-factly. I had made several. He stared at me in bewilderment. "Why are you giving this to me?" I leaned back in my chair. "Because there's something about Jessica you don't yet comprehend, something I realized too late." He waited for an explanation, looking perplexed. "She will tell you that I controlled her and did not value her. The marriage had been lifeless before you entered the picture, but she made you feel like the savior who rescued her from a dismal marriage." He looked thoughtful. "She had subtly planted that narrative, and there's more you should know. You will trust her. You will move in with her sooner than anticipated. Initially, everything will seem ideal. She will be affectionate, fervent, appreciative." I moved towards the window, taking in the quiet street below. "However, over time, things will transform." I turned back to him. "She will begin making comparisons, initially subtle. Comments like, 'My ex used to handle things differently.' Little by little, she'll bring up old projects and new emergencies." He grimaced. "Sooner or later, perhaps in 6 months, perhaps a year, another man will be standing at your door asking about her absence." His jaw clenched. "This isn't about you," I said. He gestured towards the folder. "This isn't about you," I replied. "You're not unique in this situation." His eyes widened. "What?" He flipped through the pages until he reached page 7. I revealed 3 other similar instances during our marriage, unbeknownst to me at the time. You were merely the one who had the courage to knock on my door. The words seemed to strike him harder than anger ever could. I casually returned to my chair. You think you've won something tonight, I said. But you didn't steal her from me, you inherited her. For the first time since his arrival, he finally grasped the situation. You're not exceptional, I whispered calmly. You're just a replacement. I let the truth linger. He remained frozen, the papers quivering in his hands. Now this is what happens next. I continued, my voice steady and unwavering. You leave my house, you go home. And you consider whether you truly want to construct a future with someone who treats marriages as disposable amusements. His Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed. The day after tomorrow, I continued, when you receive a call from Jessica sobbing about her husband discovering their secret and casting her out. Her sister took her away, he interjected. She's gone already, I stated calmly. Her sister collected her around an hour ago. I cast a glance towards the hallway. I altered the locks while you were engrossed in your reading. He tried to speak, but no words emerged. When she contacts you, I said, approaching him, you'll be faced with a decision. Do you wish to become husband number 2? The next man she tires of, the next life she dismantles once the excitement fades. I moved towards the front door and swung it open. A chill from the evening air filled the room as I murmured softly, Do you depart now, preserving your dignity, reputation, and career? He rose slowly, like someone stirring from a disturbing dream. The folder clung tightly in his hands. He stepped onto the porch, then paused. Have you informed her yet? He inquired, his tone quiet, about the others you're aware of. A subtle smile graced my lips. I will tomorrow. My lawyer will reveal everything in court. I paused, ensuring he saw the evidence that she'd been moving funds from our shared account for hotel stays and gifts. His eyes and ears widened. She was spending your money. Affirmative, I affirmed, tilting my head slightly. Had you thought she was financing it all on her own? Her salary didn't stretch that far. The truth of his perception became clearer to him. He wasn't her savior, he wasn't her romantic escape, he was a recurring bill and expense. You understand the most challenging aspect, I whispered. I could have forgiven the first time. I let my words hang in the air, perhaps even the second still harbored love for her, but she chose deception instead, kept undermining something I regarded as sacrosanct. He looked back at the folder. Why disclose this to me? He queried. Why not allow me to discover it myself? His question hung in the air. Upon total collapse, I declared, you'll be the one she seeks, and I want you to do so with all facts at hand. After a brief pause, he gave me a slow nod, something rarely afforded. His initial haughtiness had completely vanished. Casually, as if recalling an insignificant detail, I added, Your wife should also view those documents. He tensed. This is the second copy, I mentioned. My gaze held his one last time. The third copy will be delivered to your company's HR department tomorrow. Unless you opt to resign beforehand. His eyes blinked in response, and for the first time that night I didn't feel rage but rather completeness. There was no further dialogue as he descended the stairs. For the first time that evening I felt concluded. The third copy will be delivered to your company's HR department tomorrow, I repeated calmly, unless you choose resignation prior. Your inappropriate workplace relationships jeopardize the company's integrity, which is against our code of conduct. Upon reading it, his complexion paled noticeably. You are wrecking my life, he murmured. Not at all, I countered composedly. You put your life on the line when you deemed it acceptable to be intimate with another man's spouse for a momentary thrill. We maintained eye contact. I am merely making sure that the repercussions reach you as they have already reached her. He stood unmoving for quite some time before departing without uttering another word and descending the stairs. I watched from the doorway as he sat in his car, fixed on the folder in his lap, likely understanding that the narrative he'd been told had just fallen apart completely. My phone buzzed. A message arrived from Jessica's sister. She wants to know why you changed the locks. I responded, Tell her to ask Marcus. He possesses all the information she needs to understand. I secured the door, turned the lock, and re-entered the stillness. For the first time in months, my house felt like it belonged to me again. No more deceit echoing down the hallway, no more phony late-night meetings, no more indecision. The next day promised lawyers, heated phone calls, families torn apart, mutual friends picking sides. Jessica would rage, Marcus might vanish, rumors would spread. But tonight I indulged in a drink and basked in the quiet, and I experienced something foreign. Relief. Not because I had won, but because I stopped playing games. I didn't plead for her to stay, I didn't argue, I didn't strive for superiority. Instead, I revealed the whole truth to her lover and let events unfold naturally. The doorbell remained silent that night, but my phone buzzed incessantly. 17 missed calls, dozens of messages, each more frantic than the last. I chose to ignore them all. Because the man who would have answered, the one who would have listened to her sobs and convinced himself love could overcome everything, had vanished the day I saw the detective's initial photograph. Tonight, the individual who greeted Marcus displayed a contrasting demeanor, more composed, unclouded, and no longer apprehensive about making choices for himself. For the first instance in years, he experienced completeness.